I've co-curated Manifesta Biennial some years ago, and they invited us on the condition of subject of relation between Spain and Northern Africa. And then there was also African curatorial team which was led by Bassam El Baroni, a great guy from Egypt and my friend. And they said, he said, dialogue with Northern Africa, did you ask us if we are interested? And so this is kind of a preamble to my question about the gift and gift economy in particular territories which you investigated with the current. So what is the relation between like you coming there and this very much interests me, like clash of cultures and phantasma and your practical experiences and mission, how you see it?
I mean, to me, to go to Papua New Guinea is so unlikely because it's, first of all, it's not my field of expertise. I'm a curator. We work indoors, we work in places, and we work in very different contexts. And I was very skeptical the way we approach it, the way we go there, because of course we arrive very privileged with a ship, etc. It's like somebody from the moon is landing there. So I asked two artists, Noel Harry and Laura Anderson-Barbata, who both have worked long time also with indigenous communities on very long negotiations. I mean, Noel worked in Vanuatu for more than 10 years, and Laura Anderson-Barbata worked in the Amazon for more than 25 years with 2 tribes. And I thought it's really important to have this kind of knowledge, and it also proved to be really, really good to have them with us, because what I would say now, because I think each of us were thinking very differently about the approach, would have been much more hesitant at cases than they were. I mean, for example, we once went to a village. You usually introduce yourself to the elder, and then you tell, we come back tomorrow. Can you set up a market? And then they would do the welcome dance, but you have to, of course, announce yourself and not just arrive. So you have to tell and say, we're coming back tomorrow. Are we welcome? Do you want to do the welcome dance? Are you doing a market? And I said, yes, it's fantastic. Please come tomorrow and do this. When we went back on the boat, Laura said, we have to make costumes. It would be great. We do a dance too. And I said, I thought it's a welcome dance, so why would we do a dance? And I feel awkward. I mean, this is very old ritualistic dances. This has a long practice. And we arrive like clowns, making costumes. We look like we make a joke out of them. And she said, absolutely not. So I was very hesitant and didn't want to do it. Our boys escaped to different directions. They didn't want to do it. And then also our local guide said, no, please go ahead, do it. They will really enjoy that. So we made costumes. We did it the next day. We went there. First they did their dance, and then slowly we would integrate ourselves. Had costumes like squid or sea creatures and so, and they were laughing tears. So they were laughing about us. And then afterwards, it took me a while, and I said, what was this? And again, back on the ship, I spoke also with Craig DeWitt, our guide, and he said, you have to understand, they get once a year or every 10 months, maybe a ship comes by. They usually come, they buy everything, leaving money and saying they do good to the village. But what you brought to them is an exchange. They do something for you, but you did something for them. They could laugh about you. The children will talk about this in years. Do you remember this crazy guys arriving in his costumes? He said, it's entertainment, it's negotiation, it's dialogue, it's a form of exchange. And you were able to ridicule yourself. You did something for them. And we also stayed until the evening because we had so much to discuss and do. And in the village they told us, this is the first time ever foreigners stayed until the night because it's dangerous to get out with the tender because of the reefs, and so you can get stuck. And then I realized I would never ever have done that. But it was basically Laura and Newell who encouraged us. Because this is the way to negotiate. That's how you do it here. So I think we also have a very weird idea about dialogues, what's right, what's not right. So it's really important to go with people who have experience also in regions. You cannot just go cold.
And Can you tell me, where do you see a possible practical impact of such an experience on the mission of current as you see it?
I think the biggest impact is on us who go on the current, because I mean, of course we are knowledgeable, we read about discourses, of course we are talking about globalization, neoliberalism, the environment, global change, climate change, but it's very abstract. But if you are there and you see the tide coming and you see an atoll is that flat and you see the tide going up, you know, if the tide goes up by 10 inches, 20 inches, this land is gone. Where do these people go? It suddenly becomes a reality for you too. Even if you thought about it before, it stays abstract. So I think the biggest experience is indeed on us going on the current. And I think it has an impact. I mean, for example, one of our participants last time, Philippa Ramos, she works on animals. And when we had this discussion every evening, we also, each of us introduces our interest, what we work on. At one point she said, actually, I realized I only know animals from books and from films. I'm actually not in touch with animals. I'm still fascinated, but I'm not in touch. So it also helps us to understand what is our link to a very complex reality, because books are also a reality. Mm-hmm. You know, academia is a reality. It's not less a reality. But you understand we're living in these multiple realities. And we have to meet somewhere in order to understand each other.
Can you simply interpret your, like how you understand the current?
I think it's a very privileged opportunity to have an encounter with a context we usually would not have the possibility, or I would not have. And also sharing this with people from different disciplines. So to have, there's so much debate going on. I mean, it's really, you almost need weeks afterwards to try to make sense of it. I mean, of course, it's a very particular situation arriving with such a ship in a certain context. And again, to come back to Papua New Guinea, if you look up in Wikipedia or everywhere else, it says it's one of the poorest countries in the world. The per capita income is one of the lowest. And if you go there, it's a country with still 800 active languages, the highest biodiversity on the globe. And we say it's one of the poorest countries in the world. I mean, which currency are we talking about, you know? So we have to really see our perspective is a very minor perspective. For many places in this world, our perspective is redundant, is not relevant. And I think we have to learn this, because we always think we are the dominant, we are doing good, we are coming there, we are helping. If you go into the ocean, I mean, it's literally these people who help you, because we're pretty helpless. But then on the other side, going to French Polynesia, also seeing the impact of colonialism. When people have lost their ancestral knowledge, they cannot tell anymore if they can eat a fish or not. Although they live there, the fish are daily in front of them. But they dislearned their knowledge. You see also that impact in a reality, and it goes under your skin. And of course they said, okay, who are we? But if more and more people would have these encounters, I think we would negotiate differently what's on stake, because I mean the decisions are still made far away from these realities. United Nations, we were with the Seabed Authority discussing deep seabed mining. I mean, we're talking now about indigenous population or people in different parts of the world, but what is with nature? Does anybody ask any animal what they think about that? And why do we think we are the dominant species and have more rights? You know, and it becomes, maybe in a very naive way, it becomes a reality. And this naivety puts your feet on the ground and you have to learn walking in a different world through that. So I think to each and any of us, having been on the current, it made a tremendous change in our perception of the world. It is like this.